Good morning, everybody. I'm sure you're tired standing up. It happens only once a year, so it's part and parcel of the whole prayer, fasting, and almsgiving things that we should be doing at this highest point of the liturgical year. Many years ago in college, we had a teacher whom we admired more than anybody else. He was teaching us Filipino. And he was telling us how he built himself up gradually from poverty. They had very little money, but he somehow finished his schooling in the University of Santo Tomas. And one day, in between poems that he had written, he would tell us the story of thorns that led to the throne. It was a story of success, a self-made man, a man who, despite the pain, saw the possibility of becoming what God wanted him to be. I never got to meet him after that memorable semester. He migrated with his family to Canada. But I'm telling this because today we are face to face with a choice. You either remain in the pain or explore the possibility. You either accept the pain and with it the palms. You accept the thorns and you open yourself to the throne of glory. You accept the gall, the bitter reality, and glory is what awaits us. You accept the cross with the Lord, and you reap the crown. My dear friends, in 1986, when we were in turmoil, there was a beautiful movie that won so many awards that was being shot somewhere in the north of Luzon. The title was Platoon. I'm sure many of you saw it. It's a story about the thorn, the pain, the gall of war in Vietnam. And more or less in the same years, another award-winning movie was being shot somewhere in Laguna, in that artificial lake in near Santa Cruz, Laguna. I can't remember the name of the place. Apocalypse Now. The two movies, award-winning movies, showed us a dramatization of historical events, painful events, events that we would rather not see. And yet the reality is that we see it in the Ukraine. And even if we are thousands of miles away from the Ukraine, you and I know very well that we are all affected. At least we are all afraid because the specter of another nuclear warfare is hanging like Damocles' sword over us. When you have crazy people like the unmentionable names that we now deal with, then you have that specter. And instead of the possibility of pain, instead of glory, you have gall. Instead of thrones, you have thorns. Today, the passion narratives tell us not in a dramatization, because whilst there is drama in the liturgy is not drama. The liturgy is not just a remembrance of a memorial event, of something that happened. It is a biblical memorial of the classic kind of biblical memorial, a making present, a making real, in which we now supposedly ought to take part in and be part of. In a drama, all we are is spectators. In liturgy, even if there is drama in the liturgy and we all took part in it, we are all actors. We are all in it. We are all unfolding or participating in this unfolding story of sin, of pain and possibility, of gall and glory, of guts, of acceptance, and of salvation. What happens now in Ukraine is not drama. It is very real. People are dying. In Bucha, hundreds were killed, summarily. And the same is happening now in the Donbas region, in the northeast. It is not just a spectacle. It is not a running commentary, no matter how many news commentaries we read from all over the world. There are people who side with put out. They call him put out, not put in. There are people who side with NATO. I'm not asking you to demonize anybody. I'm asking you to accept the fact of the human sinfulness, our capacity to be so inhuman to one another, our capacity to cry, crucify him instead of Hosanna. We are not just affected. We are all protagonists in an unfolding, emerging reality of rejection, of hate, of greed, and ambition. And if you tell me that war is not based on all four, then I don't know what history you are reading. When a nation unjustly conquers another nation for whatever historical revisionism you would like, even if your idol is Catherine the Great, who, by the way, annexed Crimea when she was in power. That big nation, among the biggest nations in the world, has always been at war with each other. And it has never lost a war. And they think they won't lose this, even if they have lost it since day one. We are facing a situation that is very real even in our households because we reject each other. Sometimes we turn our backs to one another. Sometimes we become unchristian, even if we at the same time mouth very Christian terms. And as actors and not spectators in the real drama of life as human beings, we are not just repeating Calvary. We today are memorializing that journey of the Lord to Calvary. Not as passive spectators, but as actors. And we have a choice today. Choose between throne or thorns. Remain in the thorn and hate God and hate everybody else because I don't deserve this suffering. Nobody deserves to suffer. Nobody deserves to die unjustly. Nobody deserves to be persecuted. But you can choose to remain in the thorns for God's sake because you have at sight, within your faith vision, the throne that is eternal. You either remain in the pain and be sorry about everything and everyone, or you take hold of the palms. You either revel on the gall and forget about the glory. You either accept the reality of the cross and forget about the crown. When you shout, crucify him, you are forgetting history. His story, God's story, that is meant to be our story, our history. When we now revise history for our own ends, we are forgetting that history is God's to write, not ours. And therefore, we are invited by the liturgy today. Don't shout, crucify him. Let us all continue on shouting, Hosanna to the Son of David.